Hi, Teri here from Stamping Magic. Welcome back to my channel. Today's project is a super fun card. I've used the Bonanza Buddies stamp set together with the coordinating dies, and I've also used some of the special day dies. And I've created a little scene with this one showing a birthday garden party for the little koala. So let's get started. These are all the measurements you need for all the elements required to create this project. So if you are interested in reproducing it, you can take a screenshot and refer to it later. This is the Bonanza Buddies stamp set, and I'm using most of the images today and the happy birthday sentiment. I'll be stamping on Whisper White cardstock. This is normal weight, and I'm going to start with my koala. Now all my images are still lined up from my original card. I'm going to use crumb cake ink to stamp the koala, and I will stamp him twice. Then I'll flip my plate over. I've got the face lined up on the other side, and I'm going to stamp this in Memento Tuxedo black ink. Then I can change my plate. I'm going to stamp the lion next. His head and body will be in Daffodil Delight. And again, I'll stamp him twice. Then I'm going to flip the plate around. I've got the mane and the end of the tail lined up here, and I'm using Mango Melody. I'm now going to flip the plate back over, and I'm inserting it into the top hinge. I've got the face aligned with this one. Again, I'm using Memento Tuxedo black ink. And then finally I can change to my third plate, and I've got the bird positioned on this one. And I'm using Memento Tuxedo black ink again, and I'll stamp it twice. The only colouring required on this card is for the bird's beak, and I'm using my Stampin' Blends alcohol markers for this. And I'm using Bermuda Bay, Mango Melody and Poppy Parade. I also need to stamp a Daffodil Delight square gift box, a Bermuda Bay square gift box, a Poppy Parade small rectangular gift box, and a Mango Melody large rectangular gift box. Then I need a Granny Apple Green, Poppy Parade and Bermuda Bay balloon, and a Poppy Parade and a Bermuda Bay hat. I'm going to stamp all the bows in Memento Tuxedo black ink. Now the bow for the Daffodil Delight square gift box, I'm going to use the bow that's actually for the large rectangular gift box, but I'm just going to mask off the bottom of it. This is the one that the bird will carry, and I wanted a bow at the top. Next, I'm going to decorate my inside panel, and I'm just creating a little pile of gift boxes in the bottom left corner. So I've got a Poppy Parade one, a Bermuda Bay one, and then finally a Mango Melody one. And again, all the bows will be stamped in Memento Tuxedo black ink. I'm using the coordinating Bonanza dies to die cut all my little animals out. There is also a die for the hat and balloon, but I don't use them. I cut these out by hand. I'll also die cut a banner from some of the birthday Bonanza paper. From the special day dies, I'm going to cut out 3 small Daffodil Delight flowers and 3 small Poppy Parade flowers. I will also cut the balloon strings from black cardstock. I'll also be using the grass edge die on each of the Granny Apple green panels, and I'll change the placement of this for each one so they're not all the same. To create the fence for my card, I've just used some soft suede cardstock and I've run it through my die cutting machine with the Pinewood Planks embossing folder. The longer piece will be used for the two crossbars and the smaller piece will be for the uprights. Now you want this longer piece to be longer than the width of your cardstock. You'll see why later on. And then I'm going to punch out using the classic label punch to create my uprights. I've used my blending brush and some early espresso ink just to add a little colour to both these pieces. You want to punch out 3 uprights using the classic label punch, and then you need 2 crossbars. Now these need to be cut to approximately 1/2 centimetre wide, which is about 3/16 of an inch. Now I've cut my little grass panels, I can add some colour using Granny Apple green ink and my blending brush. My main front panel is again in normal weight Whisper White cardstock, and I'm going to create a cloudy sky background using my homemade cloud stencil. If you're interested in making your own stencil, I'll leave a link to my video in the top right of the screen. I've used a large square of window sheet or acetate and I've cut a different cloud design onto each of its edges. So I've got lots of options that I can use. I'm going to apply the ink using my blending brush and I'm using Coastal Cabana ink. Now you want to start approximately halfway up the panel. So I've positioned my stencil and I'm now going to apply the ink. And I'm just using a very light hand and applying it in a circular motion, just on the edge of that stencil onto the cardstock. Then I can reposition my stencil and go again, and I'll just repeat this until the top half of that panel is covered. I can now position the grassy panels. My largest one goes on first. The next largest will go on the bottom, and then the smaller one goes sort of centrally. I'm going to position them so there's a larger gap between the top and the middle one than the gap between the middle and the bottom one. This is because I'll be positioning the bottom of the fence towards the top. I've placed my panel into my Stamparatus and I've added a sheet of acetate on top of it. I've positioned my stamp and picked it up, and I'm just doing a trial run first of all to check the position. I was quite happy with the placement, so I can remove the acetate sheet, use my embossing buddy to remove any static, and then ink up my stamp with VersaFine Onyx Black and cover with clear embossing powder. then I can melt this with my heat tool. I'm using my grid paper to help me put my fence together. So I've got my crossbars nice and straight, and I'm just going to apply a little glue to the centre of them. And then I can position my centre post onto that glue. Now, because I've created these crossbars so long, it doesn't matter if my centre point is off slightly, because I'm going to trim these down later. Before I position my fence, I want to mark the centre point on my front panel. So I'm just making a couple of pencil dots to show me where the centre is. Then I can add glue to the reverse of my fence post, just at the top and the bottom on that crossbar, and then I can position it onto my panel. I can now start putting this card together. I've added dimensionals onto the reverse of one of the daffodil flowers and one of the poppy flowers. My koala images will all be glued flat. I've added a dimensional onto the back of the lion's head, the bird's hat, the poppy balloon and the Bermuda Bay balloon. The bottom part of the balloon strings is too long, so I'm going to trim that down a little bit. My card base is in Bermuda Bay and it's half a standard sheet of card scored in the middle and folded to create a portrait card. Then I have a black mat that my front panel is going to sit on, and then my inside panel. All these can be added to the card base. And that's it, my card is now complete. It's a super sweet, fun card to create. And here's another look at my original one, which is more or less identical. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Bye for now.